And I got to about 60 before we started freaking.
We go to the performance E5 0 to E4.2 so yeah. So he was already up to speed and he just stopped.
When I was at 60,
Just like that.
he's like. Let's run it back.
It was also.
Great. Check this out. It's called the unanimous log, and it's literally as long as it's been.
And having apparently lots of good managers also. Yeah, we should just warn people off. Especially if it's running over a user there.
See, they look at that, she's going in front of them. Well, a lady pushing them.
I almost hit you the other day and you just totally ignored me. I laid on my board pretty hard.
We saw you. I couldn't, the reflection, everything else was the sun. What is that? And when you drove by, it was like rushed.
Did you see that?
They were like rubbing their
Yeah.
eyes.
That's messed up. Need to tear people.
By the way, this is being recorded. This is live.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of one.
Good feeling strong.
Promise. Sure. Okay, for anybody here in the room, who's actually on the Google Hangout right now? Good. Don't eat up too much bandwidth, please. It's only going to have so much ability to send out information. Okay, are you two going to be quiet or go ahead?
I know, I never can, I try.
Okay, it seems to be pretty delayed on the Google Hangout, but we'll get started anyways. All right. Let's start with introductions. For those of you on the Google Hangout, you're not going to be able to hear this really that well, the introductions. And when we watch it, the recording later, you can just skip right through this part, about 5 minutes. Didn't you shut that off, Mike? I did. Okay, let's start with introductions. Let's start over here, since you guys are the only two on that side of the room. Okay, right behind you.
Frank James used to be our first developer at CA England, but Canada.
So you're looking right now. Good to know. Okay. I'll let you introduce yourself when you're presenting. Andrea.
I'm Andrea. I'll go to real people. I like dress normal every day.
That's normal for her. Where are you at, Andrea?
I am at Summit Materials. It's an aggregate concrete.
Okay. Josh?
Josh McFerrin, extraordinaire, data soon-to-be guy, and work for Allegiance.
Okay.
Logan Hardy, I'm a data engineer at Allegiance.
Okay. Benja?
Gerald Hendrickson, developer at
Okay, Lars?
Lars Rasmussen, DBA Health Equity.
Patrick Cahill, DBA Appropriate.
Okay. Behind you?
Alex Rivero, Martin
Okay.
And Mike Isom, Bulk Medical Devices, SQL, whatever.
Okay, cool. Glad to have you guys all here. Hopefully we've got a few on the Google Hangout too, so everybody can see this. I'm just going to talk about some upcoming events and things going on in the community, and then I'll hand it over and we'll go straight into policy-based management. So, upcoming events. The big one to talk about is the air quality competition. This is a competition in the loosest sense of the word. Right now, it's a cooperation. So what we're doing is we're getting together with lots of different groups, SQL Server, Big Data, Hadoop, all the different groups, and we're going to come together every week and talk about different big data technologies, and we're going to pull data from different sites, with the goal being that in the end, all of that data is collected together and we have a competition on how to improve the air quality in Utah. So this outlines kind of what we're doing. We're gathering data, we're collecting data, we're bringing it all together, and then we're going to analyze it, and the analyzation of it is the competition portion of the event, okay? But over the whole summer, over the next 10 Fridays essentially, every week at the Leonardo, we're going to be meeting and talking about this stuff. We're going to teach you how to collect data. We're going to teach you how to scrub the data. We're going to teach you scripting to go and get the data and collect it. All those sort of things are all going to be available to you as trainings. A lot of them are going to be Google Hangouts too, just like this. So the best place to go to find out information right now about it is the UHUG site, uhug.org. Real easy to get to. All of the listings for the meetups are right there for the different events that we have going on. But basically, if you're into ETL, any sort of data, this is the place to be all summer long, okay? Because again, we're going to train and teach on lots of different ways of doing this. So you'll learn all sorts of wonderful new technologies and all sorts of wonderful new things. Not just SQL Server, not just NoSQL, but all of them in general. Lots of different data quality issues. And we are working with things like the state of Utah. They're going to be handing over some of their new data sets. I don't know if anybody knows, there's a new law coming up that says the states have to provide open data to the people, and we're helping with that to bring the data out to this event as well. So you're going to get a lot of data from Department of Transportation, Education, things like that. You'll have the ability to get your hands on that data as well, and it'll all be open source, so anybody can do it. Okay? Questions on that?
How long are the meetings?
Meetings are an hour. But Leonardo is right next to the Salt Lake City downtown library. Big library, big square, right next to the big Salt Lake City building. Yeah, right in the middle of town, basically.
And what time did you say that?
Noon. Now, like I said, go to the site because there's other meetings too as well. Like tomorrow, there's a UHUG meeting here about Hadoop and Apache Spark. So there's other meetings that go on as well. But the Friday meetings are the ones that we talk about specifically the competition, data sets we're looking for, tasks we need done, everything like that. So, and we're going to hand out these tasks. We're going to say, we need someone to go collect the air pollution data from this set of data source that we just found. We found a website that has all this data. We need you to go get it for us and collect it and put it onto this website. And that's it. And we'll teach and show ways of that you can do that. So again, it gives you a lot of great, really cool tools to collect data in your own companies in the future. I mean, how many of us don't have to collect data? You know, how many of us get it handed to us on a silver platter? None of us. Never. So, and then we'll talk about how to clean it up, how to get it presentable, and how to get it in a form that we can all use. And then at the end, right towards the Big Mountain Data Conference and SQL Saturday Conference, we'll have a big competition around it. We'll do predictive analytics and sentiment and all sorts of fun stuff to figure out, okay, what can we do to improve the air quality in Utah? That's the whole goal of the competition. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? So everything from basically Friday on until August, September is a cooperation. Everything will be open source, everything will be shared between the teams. Once we get to that point of actually having a competition, you'll break into teams and you'll actually compete on things. And there will be lots of prizes, of course, too, as well. Okay. Any questions? No. Okay. Next SQL Saturday, right now I'm targeting somewhere towards the end of October That's a little later in the year for us, but there's a good reason. I'm trying to get the University of Utah's business building again for our location, so we can have a truly large event, hopefully over 500 people. So I'm kind of waiting on that. So if you hear people mention where's SQL Saturday for Salt Lake City, I don't have a date yet. Give me a couple weeks. As soon as the U comes back to me, I'll have a date, and then we'll have an official statement. So, okay, let's let Mike get up here and present. I'll switch this over for him.
Hey, Pat.
Yes, sir.
Can I speak to the job posting?
Absolutely. Let us know what's up.
So we've been looking for a DBA. I need somebody to back me up so that I can unplug sometimes. And I'm hoping somebody that's at least a mid-level DBA that can do operational things, handle log shipping. You know, if there is an unexpected server crash, you know how to bring master back up in databases or store them somewhere else and so forth. So just somebody that's going to be, you know, a backup for me and handle some of the operational things that I don't want to do. So if you know anybody that is pointing towards me or to helpequity.com, the listing's been posted there for a little while. We've been looking for some time. It's been hard to find somebody.
Okay, so DBA Health Equity, what am I doing past no. Absolutely not.
Company growing very quickly.
You do know I know Ashley pretty well, right?
That's okay. She'll be okay with it.
Is this mic actually turned on?
The mic is on.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to use it.
No, that's fine. Okay, my name is Mike Tudor. I work for SQL Solutions Group. We're a consulting service. Until recently, I worked at Huntsman Cancer Institute, and I believe there's still an opening there. I was just having a discussion with, I'm sorry, I don't remember. And it's hard for me to recommend it because there was reasons I left. But it is a good job other than the boss, but I won't go into details. But if you were here, I don't know, was it 3-4 months ago? I did just 2? I did a SQL bite on policy-based management. So it was about 20 minutes, which is pretty quick. Kind of rushed through it. Since then, I put together a longer presentation that I'm going to be presenting at SQL Saturday in Sacramento here next month. So this is sort of dry run for me. I'm also going to do it next week in Utah County. So let me just get started. Title of my talk is, my presentation is Tools in Your Toolbox You're Not Using. And I say you're not using them mainly because I've done searches out on the internet for some stuff, and there's very little available related to this, and nobody I've talked to is using these tools. If you have SQL 2008 or later, then you have in your toolbox policy-based management and central management server. Now the nice thing about these two is you've got a SQL 2008 server and you've got a SQL 2000 cluster or server that you would like to do some policy-based management on it. As long as you run it from the SQL 2008 or later, you can still include your SQL 2000 in that. You can't do it from SQL 2000.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
They're only seeing the half the slides.
Oh.
Let me change.
By the way, while I was doing that, I suggest you turn off your phones because it's really rude if your phones go off in the middle of it. I mean, really rude.
How do you turn off the present mode? That's what I want to turn off. Let me see. That's what. There we go.
Technical difficulties.
Is that still showing up there? Yeah.
Yep.
Not technical difficulties. It's not his fault. Don't blame him. It's mine.
I use my phone to call tech support if ever.
It's $245 for a call.
By the way, I like all your new gear, like the camera and stuff. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
The people in the hangout, it's so nice to have that.
Okay. You should, when you, let's see, if you click, it should still go.
Okay, we'll find out.
Yeah. Try to keep.
All right. I'm totally under Pat's control, so hopefully this works. So I'm going to go through and discuss both these, how you can possibly use them together. And hopefully at the end, I can ask why not, and you'll say, well, maybe I should. Okay, go. Not. No, it changed on here. It looks really good.
Did you put that practical joke on there where you screenshot the desktop?
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. And my wife, a while ago, was trying to call me on the phone like 3 times, and every time she'd call, I couldn't hear anything. I was like, check to see if somebody put tape over the mouthpiece. That's one of those ones we used to do. Plastic tape over the mouthpiece. Great, great. No.
There were some mouse sensors too on this optic device.
Is that right? Oh, yeah.
Halfway over the sensor.
So it still scatters around. Well, you know. No, it was Android, and or iPhone, either one. So you got to reboot them every once in a while. She rebooted. Then I had to listen to her. I couldn't ignore her anymore. So.
Also, it was a new feature that they rolled out just for you.
That's right. It's the husband of 35 years feature. Wow. Yeah. So I know you're doing the math. Yes, I got married at 10. Oh, I should write something. That's a good title. Sorry.
Now we've got it. You want it to go to here.
Okay,
right?
that's where we're at.
Now it's duplicated. Should be okay. Now I know.
Okay.
Apologize, everybody.
Now, that may be a bold statement for the proactive DBA, but I think that's what we all aspire to. We spend so much of our time being reactive to problems. If we can avoid those problems by being proactive, it certainly helps, and that's what I'd like to. Okay, so the first question you're asking, unless you've done this before, is how do I implement procedure-based management? You open Ssms. See how easy that was? There it is. We've all seen this before, but you still don't know where it's at. We go down to the management menu item, and under the management, you'll see policy-based management, and there's policies, conditions, and facets. Choose a facet, which is kind of what is a facet? Well, I'm going to explain. That's not a facet. That's a 1959 TR-3A car, which was actually the first car I ever owned. I bought it for $250 in 1976, I think. I had one before, but I didn't own it. My dad did. But this car has facets. Facets on this car. There's headlights. There's mirrors. There's a grille. There's wheels. There's tires. And it's different for this particular instance of car than it is for others. Think of this as a SQL 6.5 instance of car. Let's go to here, which is obviously a newer version of car. It has the same facets. It's got headlights, tires, a grille, has a roof, just like the other one. It's a rag top, which obviously I'm partial to. Keeps my complexion glowy, but it's completely different. Think of this as a SQL 2014, and this one has always on. The other one did not, because the other one could quit at any time and then decide not to start back up. So that's the concept of a facet. It's pieces of something. So let's go on. So we're back here. So we've chosen facet on the list, and here's a whole list I think there's 100 and some facets. That's what books and the internet are for, because I certainly don't have them all memorized. And then from those facets, and I'm going to go through and demo this, so it might be a little confusing at first, but we're going to create conditions. And by that, it's like I'm going to say, I'm going to look at database options, which is right here at the bottom, and I'm going to create a condition on the database option, which could be anything from read-only to simple mode or different facets of that database. After you create a condition, so here's the list of conditions that I've already created. We'll create some new ones. Auto shrink. I'm not going to go through them all, but these are ones that I've played with. And I have found a bug that I need to report because this is SQL 2012, and it's once I associate these conditions with a policy and then delete the policy, I won't let me delete the condition. I have to go in and mess with system tables, which is never good. Then you can create a policy. And so here's the policies, and here's some policies that I've already put out there. Again, we'll go through some of those, plus create new ones. And then you can do what's called evaluate. You right-click on it and say evaluate, and we'll go through that as well as the different evaluation ones. So it's demo time. Let's see. So I push escape at this point, Pat. How do I get back to the? I'm sorry.
Alt-tab.
Alt-tab.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then go here. You're on your Management Studio, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
It's right there.
This one. Nope. This one. Sorry, I'm learning.
Open up Management Studio, right there.
All right. There.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And now go back. Let me do that. Let me just share it again. So that I make sure. There.
Okay. So actually, I want my other database engine open. Okay. So here, I'm assuming everybody's familiar with SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. And like I said, go down here and click on Management. It opens up, you see their policy management. And here's our facets. And I can go and pick a particular facet, login options. And here's all the different login options, facets that are available for this particular list. I'm not sure what some of them mean, to be honest with you, but if I needed it, I'm sure I would. Must change password and stuff. We're going to go into use some of those. That's your list of facets. So from there, I'm going to create a condition. Okay. Let's say your situation is like a situation I had. I came into a job where we had literally thousands of SQL Server logins. Not Windows Authenticator logins, SQL Server logins. We couldn't even tell who was still available, who still worked there anymore, but I still had all these logins. So there were numerous things I had to do, but one of them was, let's go in here and create a new condition. I'm going to call it login options. Login password options. And I'm going to pick login options. There's login and login options. They have many of the same things. I'll explain later why I picked login options versus login. There are some things that login has that login options doesn't have, but I'd be jumping ahead if I explain. But I'm picking login options. Now, down here we're going to define the condition. So I'm going to click on the field. I'm going to say, in this particular case, I want to look for logins that have password expiration enabled, because that's the policy that we want to have in our work, that all of the passwords expire. Maybe you don't. That's the scenario that I'm building. And I want to make sure that that's set to true. And then this is an and, could be an and or an or. And that password policy is enforced. Okay? And also set that to true. So now I've created this condition. Well, I will when I save it. So there it is, login password options. Now I want to create a policy from that.
So when it's just a condition, it's not going to affect anything?
Right now it's just, it's a set of rules.
Okay. But if they're not enforced?
It's not enforcing anything. I'm just, sorry, the question, I remember to answer that, repeat the question. The question was, at this point, is it affecting anything? It is not. That condition is just it's a set of rules. It's not doing anything. The policy is where we go and say, let's start enforcing this, or whatever it is that we're going to do with it. So I'm going to, excuse me, right-click on policies and say new policy. And I'm going to call this check login policy login policy. That's why we don't like to type in demos. Now here's a set of conditions that I can choose from. You'll see under login options, there's login password options that I created. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And I'm going to do this against every login. This is the every are ones that are provided. You can go and create new ones, but there aren't any. Well, there is. There's SQL User logins, but I'm not going to use that at this point. So now I'm going to set it. I talked before about evaluation modes. For now, I'll just go with, I'm going to set it for on demand, which means when I want it, I can go on demand to go ahead and evaluate this policy. So I say OK. So now there it is, check login policy. I can take that and say evaluate it. And it will go through and it shows me, now these ones are system ones that give me an error, can't look at those. And I could avoid those if I wanted, but I don't. I've only got a couple logins. And the logins that are there are, yeah. Why isn't my, anyway, I can look at them and see that password expiration is not enabled. I could, if I wanted to, I'm not going to, I could click on that and come down here and apply, and it would apply that. It would. So I could click all the ones that don't have it and say apply.
So it would enable that?
It would go and enable it. It would change that option on that login. Okay. Now here's where this one becomes really useful. Let me go back to my slides real quick. I say quick. It's this one, right? Wow, that was cool.
That's how you crashed your computer.
Yeah, let's not do that.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to go back to my slideshow.
PowerPoint?
To just
On the bottom right.
down here.
Yeah. And click on the bottom right.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'll learn.
Actually, it's in the background.
If you minimize this, you'll see it.
It's all right. This is way over my head. Okay. Okay. Policy-based management, we're still on that. Evaluation modes. So you saw how we evaluated the policy that I created. And like I told you, I did that on demand. I right-clicked on it, said evaluate, and went out there and checked all the logins. Again, if you had 1,000 logins, you could see where that would be really useful. I only had 2, so it's not a big deal. But you can also do that on a schedule, just like any other scheduled job to run, and you could run it nightly. If that's something you probably wouldn't want to do that in this case, but there are others where you would. You can also, these two, log and prevent, are on. So if somebody goes in and changes, either creates a new login or changes one and takes the password expiration off, you can either log it or you can prevent it. I mentioned before that I picked login options instead of login. And the reason I brought this book is it's got in it a list of all of the facets, and you're not going to see this, and what they can or cannot do. Only a very few of them have the capability to prevent. There's database, does not have prevent, but database options does. So if somebody goes to create or change a database and you've set a policy that says, I don't want databases to have auto shrink on, it will give them an error if they try to do that. Okay. I'm also going to cover in this next section importing policies, which also is exporting policies, and then scripted conditions. I haven't done. The ones I've done so far have been pretty straightforward. So more demo. And Alt tab. I got it. I got it.
Yes, that shut off and turn back on.
Oh, all right.
Make sure I see the right thing.
Oh, OMED. Went to school with him from the Middle East. It's me, I'm telling you.
No. No, it's not switching at all.
Okay, I'm seeing it now.
Yeah, keep going from there. Just see if I
Okay.
can-
Okay. Go back to the policy I created, check login policy. Double click that. Now if I click down here, you'll see that it has the different evaluation modes. On schedule, on change log only, and on change prevent. If this particular facet that this was created on didn't have one of these. Some of them only have on schedule and on demand. Some of them have on schedule, on demand, and log. Only a few of them have prevent. This has prevent, so I'm going to go ahead and say prevent. And the last time I did this, the problem I had why it didn't work is I didn't do the enabled. Because if you don't enable it, it doesn't. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm putting a policy out there that says if anybody tries to create a login or change a login so it doesn't have password enforced, or what was the other one? Must change, not must change, but expires, password expires, it won't allow them to do it. You know, if you're in a shop where the only person that has that ability, that's not that big a deal. But typically, even if you're the only person in the shop that has the ability, you've assigned some kind of a developer as your backup and given them DBA rights. And that's the most dangerous person in the shop. So I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to cross my fingers and hope this actually works. If I go in and say create new login, and we have a new guy just start, His name is Mr. Wedgie. He's not a very comfortable guy. And I'm going to, wow, look at that. It won't even let me take him off. No, if I put SQL Server authentication. His password, you don't need to know, but it certainly doesn't meet the enforcement. And I take those off, and I say, okay. It fails. Won't let them create that login without that information. So that's a useful thing to have, and that's, like I said, especially if you come from a shop where people are using SQL logins. Now, the only thing it'll do for logins that are already out there that are created that way is you can do the evaluate and see the ones that are like that. I have a script that I was going to put on here that goes through and checks to see if anybody has any one of the top 100 passwords. You can't look at passwords, but you can say, is this their password? And it'll tell you, yes, it is. So I did that, as well as, is their password and username the same? Those are two really bad things. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the script when I was building this, so I can, anyway, make you wish you had. Yes, we're going to demo again. So. No, actually.
We are going back to demo.
Yeah, are we? No, I was still on demo. I wanted to show them a couple other things.
But they've lost all that.
That's Pat. There he is. You can see him live, or you can see him on TV. I think he's better looking on. He just ate something.